I'm Dave Catlin. I'm the researcher and education robot designer for Valiant Technology. This is a presentation I gave on the 20th of November 2019 at the FabLab conference held in Ancona, Italy. The title of the presentation was Classroom Maker Projects and User Robots. The EduRobot taxonomy identifies three types of education robot. We're concerned with two of these. We normally associate maker projects with buildbots like Lego Mindstorms. We define a user bot as a robot that you can take out of the package and use for an education purpose immediately. Now you can use some of these robots as a platform for maker projects, and that's what this paper is going to look at. I'm going to be talking about the turtle robots I've designed, specifically the roamer, starting with the classic roamer which I designed in 1989. Most of these examples are not research projects but a collection of work initiated by experienced classroom teachers. Before I get into any details, I just wanted to present a backstory. This picture is taken in a UK school. I'm not sure exactly where, and I'm not sure exactly when, 50s, 60s, 70s. What I can tell you is it's a workshop lesson. It's only boys, no girls, and I can tell you exactly what these boys are making. They're all making a stool. I know because I left school in the 60s and I attended those lessons, and every boy in the country made that stool, a bookcase, a lamp, and a metal bowl. Then in the 1970s, a couple of school teachers in Doncaster decided this wasn't good enough. What the children should be doing is making products that they designed. About the same time, some academics at the University of Nottingham decided that electronics should be added to the traditional woodwork and metalwork skills. Everybody got behind this. Politicians, engineering professionals, academics, industry, and teachers. Computers got added to the mix, and by 1989, when our first national curriculum had launched, workshop had transformed into design technology for all genders and all age groups. This is an excellent example of what can be achieved. It's a small country school, not gifted children, but what it did have was an excellent teacher. They designed a series of circus automata made out of junk materials and computer controlled via a control box. This inspired the roamer design. What I wanted to do was provide the children with a sort of sculptural blank canvas. Children could decide what the robot looked like. They could give it a personality, sometimes in a very simple way. Seymour Papert called this a low floor, and another part of that phrase was a high ceiling, meaning, yes, it was easy to get into and easy to do at the start, but it also had great potential. For young children, it provided a sort of Mr. Potato Head that they could animate. Making the robot into a character helps engage children in the activity. Rover's been made to look like a spider, and it sings the song Incy Wincy Spider, a nursery rhyme that these early years children know well. They're engaged from the start, but their excitement grows when they realise the robot's got the song wrong. Their task is to teach the robot to sing the song correctly. Here we see some children designing and making a robot explorer. Step by step, they're following the design process. Today, there's a lot of focus on coding and computational thinking as a problem-solving method. Designers make the same claims about the design process. It's a set of heuristics which anybody can use to solve any type of problem. Can you characterize the type of projects that we're doing with UserBoss as maker projects? Projects done with robots like Lego Mindstorms tend to be very technical. Design technology projects also tended to be technical. Dorsey's definition, shown here, supports a broader perspective and is in line with the type of work done by students with Roma. This was an art project run across a whole school district in the early 90s. The children had to design a robot insect. On the left is the work of the younger children. Of course, they're exploring their imagination about what they think insects are, but they're also experimenting with materials, how to form them, and their textures. On the right, we see a progression. This is an upper primary school insect. They've cleverly made the wings out of a clear material like cling film, and they've designed and built a mechanism to flap the wings and included sensors. Here's some more extraordinary examples of Roma artwork, but it's not good enough just to make them look pretty. You need to be able to animate the robots. So, for example, the witch doctor on the far left was programmed to perform a number of African rituals as a part of a geography lesson. A Wimbledon primary school made a robot movie about a circus coming to town. The clown would lift his hat and flash his eyes, and the strongman was pumping iron. People often referred to design technology as design and make. Learning about tools, how to use them properly and safely, was a big part of the design technology program. These three little pigs were independently designed by children at different schools. They're typical of the kind of craft work that's gone on in primary school for decades, and which primary school teachers are very well equipped to deal with. Our strategy is to start with the kind of skills that the teachers already know and feel comfortable with, and gradually nudge them bit by bit to take on more technical and more ambitious projects. It's a different story when you get to high school. You've got workshops and you've got subject specialist teachers. In this activity, students have to transform Roma into a robot that can go to a gantry, collect some waste objects, take them to a disposal area, dump them, and then go to a safe area. Students designed and made these little green platforms, and then they used Fisher technique to make some waste collection hoppers. It didn't have to be Fisher technique. They could have used Lego, junk materials, anything. They lay out the area and program the robots. Here we see one of the robots collecting the objects from the gantry, taking them to the disposal area and dumping them. On the left, we see some children working with Roma on a number line. What they'll be doing is some type of activity to do with understanding numbers or arithmetic. By making this into a delivery van, what the teacher's doing is transforming this abstract idea into something that's very concrete, something that's within the student's experience. They know about streets, they know about delivery vans, and that makes the mathematics more real. On the right, we see robot cars in a street, and this is a road safety activity. What the children are doing are programming the robot to pass a driving test. The children are getting a different perspective, not as a pedestrian, but as a car. The cars can't just stop, and they can knock people down. Adding maker tasks enhances the educational value of curriculum activities. This is the winner of a design competition we ran. It shows the cross-curricular nature of most Roma activities. The students made Roma into this wonderful bird. At the same time, they're studying animal migration and geography. Roma activities support two important educational ideas: the ability to personalize an activity and to connect it to a student's culture. On the top right, we see a project done by the Maoris in New Zealand. The children made these masks decorated with their tattoos. They put them on the Roma, and then they programmed the robots to enact the Maoris' traditional stories. On the left, we see some square dancing Romas designed by a school in Illinois. On the bottom right, we see a summer school project run by a small Native American tribe called the Squaxin. They're based in Seattle. When the elders approved this project, they saw it just as a piece of school technology. The children made the robots do traditional dances and dressed them up in their traditional blankets. But to do this, the children had to go back to the elders and ask them about their tribal dances and how to weave their blankets. This transformed the elders' opinion. They stopped seeing it as a piece of technology and started seeing the robot as a tool of cultural expression. Apart from making a robot, you can also make the environment that the robot lives in. Maple Cross School is just on the outskirts of northwest London. They're 10 to 15 kilometres from 4 movie studios, all of whom have made Star Wars movies. So they decided to make one, and they started by building a set representing the Mos Eisley spaceport. They wrote a script, and because they'd never used Roma before, they had to quickly learn how to program it. These two decided to make a version of the famous cantina scene in the first movie. When they enter the bar, the landlord shouts out, "We don't serve your kind here." He then kicks the robots R2-D2 and 3CPO out. This sequence of photographs shows the emotions involved in many robot activities. As the Roma starts its journey, the students are apprehensive. Will their program work? As the robot moves on, they become more and more excited and end up with a supreme celebration of triumph. This is the kind of things that students will remember forever. I know this because I've been doing this for 35 years, and what that means is I meet many adults who fondly remember using Roma in school and recall those exciting moments. 3D printing opens all sorts of possibilities. We printed the car on the right as a proof of concept. Anthrotronics in Maryland printed Cosmobot and sat it on top of Roma. This was for a project with the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota. They use this robot with autistic children. As time goes on, I'm sure we'll see more and more students designing, printing and sharing parts that they can add to user bots. Roma is a modular robot. That means you can extend its capability, and one way of doing this is with boards like Arduino, Microbit, Raspberry Pi. You can also use these devices and other technologies to create an intelligent environment which Roma can interact with. This opens up all sorts of different possibilities for educational activities. I want to conclude with a personal opinion. In the 1980s, British schools started to get into design technology. Some teachers embraced it. It intimidated others. Not many teachers knew what they were doing. Teachers and students learnt together. And this was a time of great excitement. It was a time when people were creative, when they would try ideas out. Even though they failed, they would be learning. However, this gradually changed, particularly when the national curriculum came in, backed up with high-stakes testing. What this wanted to do was to test that you had a broad understanding of all the knowledge areas cited by the curriculum. I think this has led to a stifling of the creativity, and what I'm hoping is that the maker movement is refreshing that and will bring that back, because it is actually the critical part of the whole enterprise. After the presentation, the audience asked 2 questions. The first asked about the suitability of the product for older students and more technical challenges. Yes, most of the examples I showed were primary school art and craft maker type projects. But I did show Roma's technical capability with one high school project and a couple of illustrations from upper primary school. Roma is both flexible and adaptable. It's also modular. If, for example, you look at Lego, that's a build type of educational robot. It's also classified as a build system and a subclassification of build parts. When you make a robot from Lego Mindstorms, you use Lego parts. With Roma, you can use anything you want. As you've seen, it could be Lego, it could be Fisher Technic, it could be junk parts, it could be parts you've designed and made, it can be anything. Remember before I used the metaphor low floor, high ceiling? The limitation isn't Roma. That's down to the teacher's ambition and the student's imagination. The second question, somebody asked, why didn't we make Roma's shell a clear plastic so you could see the electronic circuit? It would be more aesthetic and interesting, and perhaps the students could even figure out how the circuit worked. I doubt that, but that was a suggestion. I pointed out that with our first robot, the turtle, we had actually done that, and it was very successful. In fact, it had won a National Design Award. And believe me, it would have been commercially better had we made a robot that looked pretty and exciting. However, it would have been educationally less valuable. Remember, I called it a sculptural canvas because we want children to give it the personality and to create the design. Imagine in an art lesson, I want you to do a painting, but instead of giving you a blank canvas, I give you a Van Gogh print. It doesn't make sense. We designed Roma to support maker tasks, and for that, it needs to be a simple shape. So I hope you found this useful, and I'd like to thank you for listening.